Pathmonk is the intelligent tool for website lead generation. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in their buying journey separates you from the competition online. Pathmonk qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50%. Add Pathmonk to your website in seconds. Let the AI do all the work and get access to 50% more qualified leads while you keep doing marketing and sales as usual. Check us on pathmonk.com. Welcome to today's episode. Let's talk about today's guest. We have Jay, CMO with Cloud Tech. How you doing today, Jay?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here and love what you guys are doing. I've seen a bunch of your episodes and, very excited to be here today.
Likewise, right? It's good to have you on, especially someone, right, with invent your cloud with AWS serverless. So definitely what a good provider that you guys have there. So excited to learn. And I'm sure our listeners are tuning in wondering what Cloud Tech is all about. So let's kick it off with that, Jay. In your own words, can you tell us a little bit more?
Sure. So Cloud Tech is a professional services company. We are an AWS-exclusive service provider. So essentially what we do is we focus on mid-market companies, who have data analytics needs. We do everything from setting up, data lakes, data warehouses, to visualization, getting companies prepared for using Gen AI models that are obviously the hot topic in the market right now. So pretty much everything end to end when it relates to data management, data analytics. But what sets us apart is is the how really. We our team is our experts, mostly former AWS solutions architects as well as former AWS leadership, including myself. So we focus primarily on the serverless solutions that AWS offers. So everything from the kind of the standard what the market thinks serverless is, from API gateway to Lambda to all the other serverless or what we call managed services that AWS offers. So our goal really is to help companies extract insights from their data and really get the most out of that to help their decision making without any infrastructure management. So AWS and Cloud Tech will help you kind of do all of that so you can really focus on your core business, whether it's financial services, healthcare, or manufacturing. Those are the three kind of key areas that we're focusing on right now.
Definitely. All right. Awesome to hear that there from Cloud Tech. And so that everyone that is listening could get a good understanding of your company, Jay. What are some problems that you solve for clients? The problems we solve are pretty wide. We work with clients, again, mostly in the mid-market space. Some clients are they just moved over from, their old on-premises infrastructure onto the cloud, specifically, onto AWS cloud. And a lot of times what ends up happening is, customers, they move over to the cloud, but in many cases, they're not prepared for, kind of what's to come next. So whether it's their engineering teams that are, lack certain, expertise, the cloud does have its nuances once you kind of come over, and the way both, engineering as well as sort of architecture is built are, quite different. So a lot of times clients move over and, they learn that, for example, once you move over to the cloud, you'll have, cost savings. But then once they do, they find out that, as their data, grows, they end up with actually higher costs than they used to have in the past, or at least that they initially expected. So, this is where Cloud Tech comes in. We review, we look at their infrastructure, and we really pretty much work on modernization of what they're currently doing. And, we also try to get their teams ready to, really be on the cloud. I think it's it's not just a change in technology. It's really a change in, sort of how you operate. And a lot of it's really human and, kind of people-centric, which is, I think, something that, a lot of companies don't anticipate. They really focus on the technology side, but we come in and we also help, get these, engineering teams and engineering leaders ready for the shift, and then really kind of help them operate in the cloud space, more efficiently, which down the road leads to lower costs, more productivity, easier to scale, data, as well as, obviously faster to market solutions for their teams. All right. Awesome to hear that.
So then who would you say is your ideal ICP for you guys? Is there a vertical niche segment that you guys like to focus on?
So we're really focusing on mid-market companies. I think we do have some customers that we've worked with in the enterprise space. We've also done some smaller businesses, mostly because a part of our core mission is we want to help some of the companies specifically that don't have funding to kind of modernize and grow. So that's something we do as well, but that's not real. I wouldn't call that our ICP. Our ICP is usually mid-market companies concentrated mostly in financial services, healthcare, and manufacturing. Again, we've done some telecom as well, but these are the three areas that I think we excel at.
Okay, perfect. Great to hear that. And so how would somebody typically find out about Cloud Tech? Is there a top client acquisition channel for you guys?
So that's a great question. So, being a professional services company, I think, one of the things that makes marketing so different than, what's really out there today. I think the majority of marketing is focused on SaaS and sort of the product side of things, right, on the B2B side. So for us, we are a technology company, but we're also still a consulting company, and roughly 70% of consulting engagements take place because of there's word of mouth and referrals between colleagues or folks in the same industry. So that's obviously the big way we also get our customers. So that's why we really kind of focus specifically on on a target or a more narrow target like mid-market companies, and specifically segmenting them to these three industries, because as soon as you kind of grow your brand within one of these spaces, it basically becomes more of an organic way of acquisition, where folks start to get to know you and they start to understand the kind of service and value that you provide to them, and then they will the same people kind of almost cross-pollinate. If you had worked in one mid-market financial services company, chances are folks in another one, and then you'll probably tell them, hey, I worked with Cloud Tech, and they did a great job. So that's like I'd say the majority of how we go to market. But again, a lot of that is somewhat beyond our control. We just have to do a great job for our customers. But from like a really going back down to the marketing side of things, we obviously we focus on LinkedIn. Much like other B2B brands, we do some remarketing on Google as well. We have a YouTube presence. We focus a lot on content and SEO, and really, but the goal for us is really to add value to our ICP, which are senior leaders in these senior engineering leaders in these mid-market companies. So anything we can do, like for example, when our team comes out with use cases for a specific problem that's currently or stopping these engineering folks from sleeping at night, we really try to put a use case together, and we try to share that across social media, paid media as well. Again, Google, LinkedIn. We also use Stack Overflow a little bit as well, just kind of for branding. And then there's a whole other array of ways we go to market, from these solutions that sort of help us match with folks that are looking for services. There's a few of those out there, and then we've also been testing some AI tools to help us with demand generation as well.
Definitely good stuff. And so that way our listeners who are tuning in could visit you guys. They could go to cloudtech.com here. What role does a website play for client acquisition, Jay?
So we're a relatively new company, and that role's changing. To be honest, I've spent a lot of years in B2C, and a lot of my experiences also come from the SaaS side. So I think a lot of that was more targeted to lead generation, but we've shifted our kind of approach to demand generation rather than the more traditional lead generation. We hope our website to really as it kind of grows and scales, we're constantly working on adding content, and we hope it serves really as somewhere in the mid funnel. This is we want it to kind of live in the mid funnel. So we want our customers to, most of them will probably hear about us, whether it's in an ad or word of mouth. We want folks to come on our website and really understand what we do and what makes us different from our kind of unique delivery approach to the specific solutions that we focus on, that we really believe are the key to sort of a modern cloud and efficient infrastructure. So we want people to come to the website, learn about us, and get as much information as possible. So it's somewhere, I would say, in the mid funnel. We're somewhere between just informational and a lead capture tool. So that's how I'm looking at it, at least at the current moment.
All right, awesome, great to hear that. And would there any tools or methods that you would recommend for our listeners as far as some lead generation?
I think our area is really unique because it is professional services, and it's somewhat of an antiquated industry, and I would say, and it's sort of meeting a lot of these more modern sales and marketing tactics that you find in SaaS. So I'd really really recommend, for starters, defining your audience. Especially if you're a small company, don't model yourself after the big players in your space. And I think one of the things that I find that I've done some consulting in the past with some companies, and I find the thing that marketers and specifically even starting from executives, there's a level of FOMO, I think, that happens where folks want to capture everybody and they want to have positioning and messaging that really is targeted at everybody, but at the same time nobody. So my biggest advice is don't be afraid to say what you do best and position yourself in a place that where you're a lot better, or where you have a differentiation within your market. Don't just position yourself and kind of hope that whoever goes on will have a will see your let's say see your messaging and not get turned off by it, but rather focus on who is it going to appeal to. So start with one kind of segment or ICP, and then I call it the building block strategy. I don't know if I made that up or read it somewhere. It's really hard to say, but really start from one area, master that, and then kind of add the next block. It's a lot easier to kind of go wider later or go up market after you've learned things like how you deliver, or in the SaaS space, like what your product really does. So that's my biggest advice. Identify your target and your ICP, and really focus the entire organization from both sales, marketing, whether it's product or delivery, depending on sort of the nature of your business, but focus everything to become the best in that space. And then once you feel like you've reached a certain authority in the space, then you can start to expand and then kind of build the next block and then the next block. So that's how you grow from a small consulting company like a Cloud Tech into someone a lot bigger that you might be familiar with, like a PwC or Accenture. I mean, that's the we can't be Accenture today, but we understand that.
Definitely. All right, awesome, great recommendation there from you, Jay, to our listeners. But let's switch gears a little bit, Jay, and talk about you as the leader, you being the CMO there for Cloud Tech. What are some key tasks you focus on your day-to-day work?
I mean, that changes again. It really depends on sort of the priority. The way I look at marketing, in an earlier stage company is, you want to both enable, your teams to be successful, and as far as like your sales organization, you want to have branding. And all of that sort of present. You want to increase your team's presence in the market, or your company's presence in the market. But I think my main role is really just making sure that everyone stays aligned to the mission and the target and the ICP that we're trying to tackle. Because again, once and really kind of stopping the FOMO effect, right? Of whether it's other executives, or just sometimes folks on the team. You hear there's so much information and so much noise out there in the market. I look at myself as sort of the person that creates the guidelines and the barriers and keeps the team, not just the marketing team, but everybody aligned. And I think that's my main job. Obviously, I'm doing a lot of the sort of behind the scenes operations stuff, from setting up we just set up a new CRM platform. Sometimes I'll go in and even write copy, or write my own blog, or do a podcast like I'm doing right now. So really, in a startup, you're kind of doing a little bit of everything, despite the fact that I have a pretty decent sized team for a company of our at our stage.
All right, awesome to hear that. Full plate on your hands, and how I mentioned startup is it's always different hats on the job. So
you've got a context switch. That's all I can say. From one day you're doing an analyst briefing, or a podcast, and then the next day you might be, writing or editing copy, or doing an Excel report. It's really, it's really kind of hard to say what the day to day looks like. But as I've, my team's been growing and we've been onboarding, and I think I've been able to get a good balance of being able to kind of step back and think 3 years out, which is, I think the role of a CMO, and then also really being involved in the day-to-day as well when need be.
Awesome. Great to hear that. Jay, well, let's switch to our next section here, which is our rapid fire question rounds. You ready for them?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited.
First off, what is the last book that you read?
The No Rules book. It's about the Netflix culture. I actually just finished it probably last week or so. It really just talks about sort of how Netflix rose to prominence, and how their culture played a big part in it.
All right. Great read there. Now, what is one single thing that your company's focused on at the moment the most?
I think companies should focus on what they do best. I think they shouldn't go for fads and what's hot today. I think I know it's easy to kind of fall in that trap and only focus your time on Gen AI and really just kind of forget everything else that you do. But you should focus on what got you to where you are, and then focus on what you do much better than everybody.
All right, great stuff. Now, if there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be that one thing that you want to have fixed for your role as a marketer today?
No boundaries in technology. For me, I would say, marketing. One thing that I would love to change about sort of the marketing is the perception of marketing. I think, it's not as much in my role, but, just what I'm seeing out in the market is, a lot of times marketers get sort of, pigeonholed into really more execution as executioners in an organization, kind of following behind the product team if it's a SaaS or product-led org, or the sales team if it's, a sales-led organization. I really just wish marketers would, we have a certain view of them, whether it's the market or the product or, our audience that other teams don't have. And I do, wish more marketers focus more on, kind of being strategic and adding value in that way, rather than just, channels and execution that, I've seen a lot of, especially senior level marketers do, focus mostly on, and just really kind of do what they're told by, one of these two teams, rather than bringing their own sort of unique viewpoints into the equation.
Awesome. Great to hear that. And if there's one repetitive task that you could automate, Jay, what would that be?
I'd say probably, we're just starting to get there, but I think email is one area that could use some automation. Again, we do email, I would say, maybe as much as an average company does. We don't over index on it, but I've spent 15 years in on the retention side of things before, and I know pretty much email from kind of the client side, and I've also been a part of an organization that did sort of MarTech tools, and I just think it takes a long time. The templates are generally difficult to work with. I'm not going to name names of email or CRMs here on your show. I don't want them to send me hate mail. But most of them are just pretty clunky, and whether it's you're trying to you still need quite a bit of HTML skills to actually do it the right way. And even though there's a lot of talk about automation and AI in that space, I for one haven't seen a ton of it. I've seen there's companies out there that are basically do the entire demand generation process for you, and not well, by the way. So for all the sort of BDRs and demand gen folks, your job's not going anywhere just yet if you know what you're doing. But I would say automation in the email space, how how to add whether add copy and test different messaging is still a really labor intensive process.
Awesome. Great to hear that. And well, lastly, Jay, you have a lot of experience already, right? But what is one piece of advice that you would give yourself if you were to restart your journey as a marketer today?
It's a great question. So I was actually having another conversation with someone else, and they asked me this, one of our sort of junior folks on the team. And I actually, I started my career in analytics, and I've always kind of focused my time on numbers and, the business side, and somewhat ignored a lot of the creative aspects of marketing, whether it's, writing engaging copy or design. I've always sort of thought those were secondary. So one advice I would sort of give myself would be, writing is a big, is a big skill. Like if you're able to, get your thoughts out on paper and engage your customers. I think a lot of marketers are very smart, but aren't able to articulate what it is that they want to say to their customers. And then, that is just, and that's not just a marketing problem. I think that's a problem I've seen in, from, in product, on, sales as well. So I think if I would say go and learn, almost go to journalism school to a degree as well. Don't just focus on business, but learn how to effectively communicate in writing. I mean, content is such a big deal. And I actually think it's going to be an even bigger deal moving forward, even though there's all these AI tools and ChatGPT, but I think things are actually going to go the other way. This is just my opinion, but I think once everybody gets a kind of a hang of how to use these AI tools, like that won't be a differentiator anymore. We're going to go back to a place where, being a great writer and someone that can communicate succinctly and, really do a good job of writing engaging copy that has a personal touch to it is going to really differentiate you. Because I think it's going to be, before it was, you had to be an okay writer, then AI came into place, and now everybody is a writer. You see folks that have no idea what they're doing, and I know how, how they write, and then you all of a sudden see them writing these blogs and all this stuff, and who wrote it, and you could see the ChatGPT, sort of loud and clear there. So I actually think that, so once Google really kind of catches up and starts to, lower the score of, when using AI to, to write content and stuff like that, I think being a good writer is going to be actually super important moving forward. So I would actually tell myself, like, really focus on that side of things. I started focusing on that a little too late. I mean, nothing's too late, but I wish I started that earlier. So that is, I guess, what I'm trying to say here.
Definitely some great advice, for our listeners as well. That's what it's all about, right? It's something you could change different in the past, some advice that you would give yourself. So that's great to hear from you, Jay. Well, Jay, thanks a lot for being on the show with us today. I do want to give you the last word. If someone forgets everything about the interview today, what is that one thing they should remember about your company?
We focus on people. We are a technology consulting company, but everything we do is people-centric. We call it human first, but it's the way we hire folks to work with our customers, the way our culture is, organizationally within our company as well. And it starts from our founding team, and then down to the core leadership, and everybody else. So we focus on people. We don't, we will rather hire somebody who is great to work with than someone that we can teach, rather than somebody that has all the skills in the world today, but makes the environment or sort of the workplace less fun to be in, because we truly believe in this people-centric and human-first approach. And that is how we work with our customers. We understand that some folks are more comfortable with letting go and letting technology take over than others, and we just try to get everybody there and try to help engineering teams and engineering leaders get upskilled and really prepare for the future there. So we're a people consulting company, and I'm sure others say it, but if whoever has a chance to work with us will hopefully tell you that we back up what we back up what we say.
Definitely. And for listeners, like I mentioned, you can check them out at cloudtech.com. Fuel innovation and boost engineering productivity without day-to-day infrastructure management. Jay, thank you so much for being on with us today. To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in, and looking forward to our next episode at Pathmonk Presents. Thanks a lot, Jay.
Thank you very much. Great to be here. And amazing job, and nice to meet you.